And welcome back to MD Global Muscle here at the On the Rise Media Studios with me, your host, Giles Thomas, joined by my co-host, AJ, all the way from Norway. And AJ, who are we joined by?
The ultimate legend, Michael Hurd.
The Titan!
The Titan! Oh, man.
Yeah, keep it going.
Man, you guys just turned it on.
Yeah, we do. Yeah, we're pumped. We got Mike.
Mike, we started this new season today. We built our own studio today. And you were the first guests, Mike. We had a lot of opportunities to get whoever we want. And you are the one on top of my list. And
Yes.
your list.
Yeah.
Seriously, Mike.
Yeah.
Thank you, guys.
It's a real honor having you on.
Yeah.
Oh man, I appreciate that. I appreciate that, and I'm glad it worked too, because I messed up on the times, and I was just training with the world's strongest man, or he just won the Arnold strongest man, and then he also is the current strongest man. We just got done with the workout, so I am pumped and ready to rock and roll.
Nice. Sorry, what's his name? I'm not familiar with this guy. He's a new guy, isn't he?
Well, he won this last year. He won the world's strongest man.
Okay.
And I wish I could pronounce his name correctly, but I am terrible. I'm still hooked on phonics, guys, man. So, but just some strong guys, Russian and another one, Ukrainian. But he was taken third. He was in third place going into the final event. Brian Shaw was in first, and he won it by 1 second. So. Yeah, Brian Shaw got second. So it's you know what? We're all barbarians. We're all gladiators. The coolest thing was that he came from behind to win. But he's humble enough. This is what I love more than anything else. Who cares about he's strong? I know that the kids care about that he's strong and this and that. He competed this weekend. It is Monday morning, and they got a hold of me and said, "You want to train?" I said, "Yeah, but we're training in my time, man. 7 a.m. Let's get this going." The kid was humble enough, after winning the Arnold and the world's strongest man, to come in and train bright and early Monday morning.
Wow,
That's just, to me, that's old school mentality. I love that.
Yeah,
What did you train with him?
We did some shoulder presses, and then we went into some incline development work. And I showed them some exercises. I've showed some other strongmen, Brian Shaw and stuff, some just techniques to help them not only kick ass now, but have longevity, so these guys in 30 years can still be training like this.
I watched he was a London strongest man. He was training in my gym many years ago when I was a teenager. And I always thought maybe that the strongmen would just literally work on big compound movements. And this guy was doing, I think he was doing like nearly 4 plates on the Smith shoulder press, but then he was doing a lot of isolation work. Was that what you were teaching him, or was he familiar with that kind of training?
You're right that they do the compounds. And they stay focused on that. Right. But they do a lot of isolation as well on the off season. It's, if you're not an athlete first and foremost, you're going to have a short career.
Yeah.
And I think it's the concept that people think, hey, is it lightweight or heavyweight? Is it low reps or high reps? And my answer is, yeah. Yeah, it's all of it. It's all of it. Don't try to make it confusing. Don't try to make this thing like strong guys only like lifting strong. You got to be full range. Everything, the range of motion's got to be there. I don't want you walking around like this, so jacked and big. Yeah, but then you're not athletic, and so your career's short. So, everything.
First of all, congratulations being a father, Mike.
Yes. Oh, yeah.
How is that? How is it being a father? How are you liking it?
A couple things. One is I'm glad I waited. And it is I personally, because I'm a dog guy, I personally don't say this. I don't say to anybody, it's the greatest thing in the world, because I couldn't fathom what it's like. It's the greatest thing that I ever did.
Really?
And
Really?
it really is. It's and I get the fun parts, I got a savage of a woman that takes care of all the hard stuff, and I get my swimming time with them or my rolling around time with them, but it's the coolest thing in the world. It really is.
How old is he now? Because he's a few months old.
He's 9 months old now.
Wow, okay.
He's 3 feet tall and he's 37 pounds.
Squatting 315.
And Mona was at the airport with him the other day, and they're like, "Why don't you just set your kid down and let him walk?" And she's like, "No, he's 10 months old. He doesn't walk yet." They're like, "What the?"
Oh, so he's a fast grower then.
Yeah, he's a little monster. He's a little monster, which is cool. It's fun.
Was there a reason why you waited so long to have kids? Because I'm 35, you're 40.
28.
You don't have kids yet. Was there a reason why you waited to a little bit older having kids?
Yeah, I think it's a concept of how I was raised. I was raised by parents that there was 10 brothers and sisters we had.
Wow.
And the one thing I think I realized is it takes more than just being in love with somebody. I think, and I'm going to speak for myself here. I don't want to upset anybody, but there's a difference between being in love with somebody, a partner, and then going, hey, we should have a kid because I love you and you love me, and let's create a little us. And the difference was that I said, if I find somebody that could raise the child with or without me, because life isn't what we all think it is. You know, it's not perfect.
Yeah.
And so I saw how tough it was for my parents, and they raised 10 kids. And I said, I need a woman that could go, I can do this with or without you.
Okay.
Mentally, physically, emotionally, financially, all that kind of stuff. And so I just had to wait, and it just took me a long time to find that kind of woman that says, yeah, let's rock and roll. Let's do this. And for me, the importance was it wasn't about me trying to create a little me. It was me trying to give somebody, you know, this creation a good life. And I don't want to, you know, mess it up that way.
So how long have you been with your wife then?
I've been with her for 5 years now.
So at what point did you have the discussion of, you know, I think you're the woman I would like to have children with?
I think it was a mutual thing because I did not want kids because I come from 10.
Yeah.
So I'm a little bit, you would think that because I come from 10 that I would want something, but I didn't get a lot of nurturing as a kid, which is fine. I had great parents, but I'm very selfish because in a family of 10, you know, when they say it's dinner, you get your ass to dinner. You eat your meals just so you can get a second meal because there ain't going to be no second.
Yeah.
And you didn't get a lot of nurturing. So when I got into a relationship, I found that I was very selfish that way. Hence, I do bodybuilding. Who knew that they were selfish? It's not a good thing. But I started dating this girl who was a former editor-in-chief of Muscle and Fitness, hers, and Miss Universe.
Oh, wow.
Mona Morisov?
Oh, yep.
Yeah.
The savage Romanian gangster.
I think I know her. I think I've met her. I think I've met her. Yeah.
Dark hair.
Yeah. I've met. Oh, okay. Yeah, I've met her. Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
So I met this girl, and we started dating shortly after that. And she didn't want kids either because she owned a restaurant and doing all the traveling the world and stuff. And maybe 3 years into the relationship, we looked at each other and said, we could do this.
Wow.
And we both agreed on it. And so two people that didn't want kids had a kid, and it's the greatest thing in the world for us.
Wow.
And wait, you don't need to rush it.
What's so cool with Mike is that even though he's over 25, he's still as popular today with the kids as when he was 25. Before we go into that, because we want to know a little bit about your mindset, can we go back in time and talk about when you first started to compete? For kids who don't know about this story.
Yeah, the story was I was basically bred for this stuff. I come from a family of 10, like I said, but it's 5 brothers and 5 sisters. We all did martial arts, powerlifting, and bodybuilding. My dad was a bodybuilder, football player. My mom was a martial artist. Okay. So we kind of, you know, jumped into this from the get-go, and I realized I really needed to do this because anytime you're the youngest boy, you're getting your ass kicked by your brothers, but I was getting my ass kicked by my sisters too. So I said, I need to man up. And with 4 years of training, I competed in my first bodybuilding show, and I won it.
What age?
I was 14 then.
You see? 14 years old, yeah.
Hang on, sorry, how 14?
Yeah.
And I walked on stage at 176 pounds ripped.
What?
And And I beat.
Wow.
There was 20 competitors, all 19-year-olds, and I beat them.
Wow.
Smoked them, bro.
Yeah.
OMG.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, but at age 14, it's very.
That's
yeah.
unbelievable. Wow.
I will send you some photos so you guys can throw that up because
Good,
everybody's gonna be
good.
like, 14. What'd you look like when you were 14?
Yeah. Wow. God.
So yeah, and then
Incredible.
2 weeks later, I competed in a powerlifting meet,
Mhm.
and at that age, I benched 275,
At
and it was
age
right off of bodybuilding.
Age 15.
14.
14. Oh,
14.
Yeah,
So, and here's the fun stuff. That was pre-puberty.
yeah. Yeah, you haven't started getting.
Yeah. I can see the
So-
I can see the Superman parallels here.
Yeah.
So a year and 2 months later, I was 272 pounds and 6 inches taller going through puberty.
Wow.
And that's
Okay.
that's when I 272 pounds at 15 and a half
Whoa.
years old.
Yeah. You were playing football then, weren't you?
So I played football,
Yeah.
All-American, did wrestling, I did powerlifting through that time and competed in bodybuilding and martial arts. I did it all. I loved it. I loved it.
Yeah.
How did you fit it all in? Was it just? And I suppose they all kind of complement each other, don't they?
Yeah, you know what? It's an interesting thing. I never, and I've never moved away from this principle of the compound movement with a couple secondary stuff.
Yeah.
Um, and we can go into that later, but that's what's given me longevity. People think that it's muscle. It's not muscle. It's bone density and connective tissue that gives you longevity.
Okay.
And so that lifting was helpful for the martial arts because it made me strong. The martial arts was helpful for the lifting because it kept me flexible and range of motions.
Yeah.
And then the combination of both helped me get on stage and compete in bodybuilding.
Okay.
So they all worked off each other.
Yeah.
How did you meet? One second. Is the sound? Can you hear something, Mike? Did
Sorry,
you
we
hear
just had a
something
bit
here?
of feedback there. Sorry.
I'm great, guys.
Okay.
I'm great down here.
Okay.
Oh, Batman's moving. Batman's moving. Get ready. Settle down.
Get man. You okay there?
Yeah, that's okay. Yeah. Yeah, we're good.
It's okay. Can you? Yeah.
Is that how does it sound to producer? Yeah. Sorry.
So
okay,
when
go
did you start falling in love with like bodybuilding and Mr. Olympia and those type of physiques?
I was 9, 10 years old.
Okay.
I was looking at the magazines, and I was saying, I'm going to be like Bruce Lee and Arnold Schwarzenegger.
That's a good mix.
That was the goal. That was the goal. I wanted to be athletic, but I wanted to be like a walking superhero.
AJ, I was kind of hoping you'd say comic books then. I was really, I was thinking, nah, don't say bodybuilders or Bruce Lee. I was hoping, please say comic books. Because I'm a big, I'm a nerd. I'm a comic book nerd. I'm proud of it. And
I'm
it's,
not, but,
I was kind of hoping you would because obviously there's, we'll go into that as well a bit, yeah.
So when did you start to, because you competed first, what's the biggest shows you started competing at? You know, the first, what can I say? You won, what's it called? Mr.
I
Universe?
started in Washington State, and so I started competing obviously in teenage Washington powerlifting, and I was winning those. And then by 17, 18, my dad said, no more teenagers, just compete against the men. And I think that's definitely, besides who I was training with in the powerlifting world, all set up a mindset that I'm so appreciative to today. And I think you guys will understand this. So my dad said, no more competing against teenagers. Now, at that time, teenagers would go, I want to win. And his point was, in 3-4 years, you're going to be competing against the men. Start doing it now.
Yeah.
That's the mindset. You're already beating the teenagers. What's the point of keep winning these things? Compete against the men. So I love that approach. And I loved always going, let me go against the tougher.
Yeah.
You can only get better if you go against the tougher.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
So that was the approach from my dad that taught me something. But something else I didn't realize that was established, and this is going to be hard for somebody to do, but my recommendation is to put yourself around this. When I was, 13, 14, 15 years old, training at this powerlifting gym, I was at such a young age, and I didn't know the world was so big. I just thought these powerlifters I was training with were the average. This is what anybody is. Now, what I didn't realize is this: it set my mind above everybody else because the guys I was training with were the greatest powerlifters in the world.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm a 14-year-old kid seeing a guy do a 900-pound squat going, and I'm sitting there thinking to myself with that naive attitude,
Yeah.
I can do that,
Yeah.
but I'm going to look better than this guy doing it.
That's what I like, because it's best of both worlds.
Yeah.
So in setting that at such a young age where I just cut the noise out and there was no social media. So it was a beautiful thing that I go, this is what I believe and I'll stay with it. And it just stayed in there and it never changed. And I mean, you guys know my age, but today I just trained with the strongest man in the world and we tussled. It was awesome.
Yeah.
Could you hang up? Could you go? Okay. Could you hang with him?
Wait till the video comes out.
On Mike or her YouTube channel, of course.
Yep.
So, but I've trained with Thor. I've trained with Brian Shaw. I've trained with all these guys, and it's that concept that I believed when I was a kid is the same thing today. It's I'll train with these guys, but then I'll also train with the most elite athletes from the NFL that are 23, 24, 25 years old, and it's that tussle at any age is what I just love.
So training with strongmen, how did that come about? Do you approach them because you're thinking, I want a challenge, I want to put myself in that environment and see what I can do, or do they approach you? How does it come about?
They came to train with me.
Okay.
But I'm at this level. But for everybody that's watching this and going, should they do it? The first thing anybody that's doing this, if they can take something away from today, is get out of that gym if you're the strongest person. Get to another gym.
Yeah.
Smart,
it's like a goldfish, isn't it? In a bit of
small fish in the
productivity environment. Yeah. Is that
I don't know if everybody knows that. A goldfish only grows as big as the environment.
Yes.
And I think that's a beautiful thing. And I agree 100%. It's the most amazing thing when you start doing, even like you guys. I bet you guys talking with tons of different individuals that are elite at what they do, it helps you grow. And you're just talking.
Big time. Because we're big about kind of getting into the kind of mindset. I mean, I've spent personal time with Ronnie Coleman, Phil Heath, the best of the best. We've spent days and days with them, not just interviewing them, on shows like this. And we really like to get to know, because more often than not, they're not just successful in one area of life. They're like you. They're successful in multiple areas of life because of that mindset that they've not just applied to going to the gym and applying it to good genetics and taking it somewhere. They've applied it to other areas of their life.
Yeah, it's a beautiful thing. Anytime you can grow. I'll jump back because I never answered the competition stuff. Yeah. So I competed as a teenager. I did that, and then I went off to teenage nationals. In '87, and Chris Cormier was there. Gerard Dente was there. Gerard actually won the overall. Chris was a light heavyweight, and I walked on stage at 220 pounds, which felt great at that age. I was 17, 18 years old.
17 years old and 220 pounds. And
on stage.
Wow. And you're 6'3" or? How tall are you?
6'3".
6'3". Yeah.
6'3".
That's incredible. Yeah.
Wow.
And then from that, Joe Weider got wind of me, and then a couple years later, Joe put me under contract and got me down to California, where I continued to compete. Yeah. And then I kept competing in powerlifting. Won the California powerlifting 4 times, best lifter as well. Competed in judo. Won the Californian judo. I did. Bodybuilding, and I competed at I did a different organization that I wasn't allowed, which is great because Joe and I were friends and I was under contract, but I wasn't allowed to talk about a lot of the competing because I was doing drug tested shows.
Okay.
And so Joe respected that. Joe loved it. But he just couldn't talk about it. And so it's funny today, in this day and age, where everybody goes, why would you guys? Back then, I couldn't even talk about it because of the fact that Joe is IFBB.
Yeah, of course. You don't want to highlight it.
I kept my mouth shut. But I went on to win the Natural USA, Natural America, Natural Universe 4 times, Natural International, and others. And I would still do other shows. I'd compete and win the Mr. California. So it was a fun competition, but more than anything else, I realized I didn't need um, to do anything else outside of the competitions I wanted to do. Because the judges were great, but when a judge, here's a tough one for you guys, and I want everybody to listen to this. If you go into a show and you take first, great. If you take 15th, but all 14 in front of you, you don't care for their physique, you don't want to look like that, you won the show then. But not to the bodybuilding world, not to the 9 judges, but you won it for you as a person, and you will continue to lift if you do it that way.
One question about Joe Weider. We know Joe Weider. I don't know him. Have you met him?
Met him once, yeah, backstage.
Your question was a great question, and it is actually, and we didn't plan this, so for everybody listening that goes, oh, that was a nice lead-in. The question was, did Joe Weider ever pressure me to get bigger or to change what I look like? Here's the greatest information and the greatest discussion I had in my life to make me continue on my path.
Yeah.
I'm at a photo shoot, a cover photo shoot. I'm doing a cover story, sorry, and I'm going to talk about my leg training. 21 years old. 200, and I just competed in one, and I'm 252 pounds.
Wow.
So 6'3", 252. In the world of bodybuilding, it's probably not huge, but in life, it's a big guy.
Yeah. But you were also drug tested at the time, weren't you?
Yes, and I was drug tested. Again, clean as a whistle, but that's for another story. they can believe whatever they want. Anyways, and I'm shooting. There's other guys there, and these guys are my idols.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to say the name because these guys are my idols growing up, and still today. Just I look back and I go, wow. And technically, physically, I am bigger than them, but I wouldn't look bigger than them on stage. They were more crisp than me.
Yeah.
You guys understand that being in the bodybuilding world.
Yes.
So here's the greatest thing. After all these other guys, which were all IFBB pros that just competed at the Olympia and all just placed in the top 10, they left the location. And when they left, Joe Weider comes up to me and he says, don't ever change your physique, because how you look is how 99% of the world wants to look relative to the guys that just left.
Yeah. Wow.
I sat there and I go, well, I mean, technically I didn't really want to change that much. But that confirmed, that was the approval. That was, I'm on the right track from that one person.
Yeah.
I mean, it's Joe Weider. It's the guy that created it. He brought me and Arnold Schwarzenegger out to California. It's like, I'm good. I just won. I won every trophy there is in the world right there.
So he encouraged he encouraged you to choose your own path and not follow the path of these other guys that were actually placing ahead of you.
Oh, yeah. Those guys would crush me. And when it came down to Joe Weider picking the 10 greatest physiques, or back in the day, Robert Kennedy.
He was on. You want your number one?
I was in the top 10 of the greatest in history.
Wow, that's fantastic. And Bob, I mean, I used to speak to Bob a lot. I worked for him in a few assignments, and that guy knew a good physique. Yeah.
And it's that is what also it's so important. I wish for some of the people that troll on social media about you sometimes, you don't go into that they understand this, because it's the greatest men have chosen you as the greatest physique. Yeah. Along with American Gladiators, along with Guinness Book of Records breaking glass.
The breaking glass.
Along with having the most epic dog of all time traveling the world. You know that dog? It's I just hope people, I hope you're never going to retire and be out of it, but I hope people, the haters, realize how
special.
Love it, treat you with respect while you're here, like treat you with because it's truly something amazing, Mike. You should
thank you.
Because I'm from Norway. I live in Norway, And when I told people in Norway we would get Mike O'Hearn on, like, what? You're going to get Mike? And we have had on a lot of superstars, you know?
I could see him as a Viking with long hair. I can definitely see it.
Let's get into some current bodybuilding.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Arnold Classic.
Yes.
Do you like the open class or the classic class the most?
That's a good question.
Wow. It's I like all aspects of it. Unfortunately, I don't choose one over the other. Because there is the art piece of it. There is the how they look on stage. It's beautiful. Yeah, man, it's tough because I'm still a superhero comic book nerd, to where when I meet the person, this is gonna. And I live in Hollywood, so it's a real disappointment when I meet Matt Damon and Tom Cruise, and I'm like, you guys are monsters, and then you meet them, and you're like, oh, you're so cute.
Legit midgets.
Oh,
Yeah.
Legit midget.
You're a little puppy.
Yeah.
So I do like to meet people that are larger than life, and that it represent that. And that's what I loved about Arnold. That's what I loved about like Ralph Moeller back in the day, Barry DeMay, Gary Stridham, Lee Haney. I like to meet these guys that are they're walking superhero. They walk in to a room, and you're just like looking off over here, and for some reason it just makes me look over here because these guys walk in, you know. So I still like the big guys, but when they're on stage and they're doing their thing, man, it's amazing how small and tapered they're getting their waist in the classic. I love it. It's truly impressive when you can change just the shape of that body to where those waists and hips are so tiny. And still got so much muscle on them. So I really appreciate that. I really appreciate the classic. I wish, because the big boys could do it too. The big boys can do it too, but they still got this little size, overly sized mindset going on. But there's some of those big guys, like I think, like we talked about Gunther. We talked about Gunther earlier, right?
Yeah.
Gunther at a smaller weight was truly amazing.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's all beautiful. It's all art pieces. It goes down to the person's taste on it. But the classic is really taking over and helping the sport. It's truly helping the sport.
Yeah.
Bringing a new generation of younger fans and more people into it. And
So that you touched on Hollywood there, and with sorry AJ, but the explosion of the Marvel films. I know I've seen pictures of you as as Superman and stuff like that. Sorry, AJ's not. He's not into. He calls it nerd shit. Sorry, pardon my French. But I mean, obviously you and Henry Cavill, you could look like brothers. Do you know what I mean? But obviously you've got the really good physique. Have you ever really thought about going in for sort of like those kinds of parts that big in like a Marvel films or DC? Surely.
Well, here's the funny thing. You just talked about somebody that he and I both lost out the role of Superman to, what is his name? Rolf.
The new guy.
What's that?
Is it a new guy you're talking about?
No. Old. It's the guy you were just speaking of, the current Mr. Superman.
Henry Cavill, yeah.
Henry Cavill lost out when he originally auditioned for Superman, and back in I guess it was 2000 in those ranges, and that's when I also auditioned, and we got down to the top 10, both of us.
Wow! So Brandon Ruth got it.
Brandon got it.
Return of Superman, yeah.
Yeah, it was funny because they said, "Dude, we love you. We love you for Superman. You're freaking great for Superman, but we're gonna go with a guy that does a great Clark Kent."
Oh, because they wanted a really like even he pushed his glasses up, and they literally wanted to recreate it, didn't they? Oh man.
Yeah. So it didn't get it, but here's the thing, and I don't ever really talk about this stuff because it's still one of the hardest things to do is get that leading role. But I've been on the radar and audition for He-Man. For the Scorpion King. I got down to the second guy for Scorpion King.
Wow.
This is the one after The Rock.
Okay.
So we keep going, we keep pushing, we keep doing stuff, and right now Hercules, that Barry Levine did with The Rock a few years back. So he and I are teaming up now, and we are working on Hercules for Prime.
Okay.
So a TV series, a very hardcore Game of Thrones, vicious Hercules. So that's why the hair is so crazy and long right now.
But, but hang on a minute. I saw that they're recasting Superman, because I saw a guy that there was rumored to be getting it, because obviously you got Tyler Hoechlin. Is it Hoechlin? Tyler Hoechlin. He played Joe Weider in Bigger, and he's Superman in the TV series.
Oh, that's good though.
But
I did hear they were or were not doing that. I thought they were bringing the other one back.
Oh, they're sticking with him. Right.
I thought so. But that's Hollywood, and they'll switch it up on that. But we just keep pushing. I am pushing. I'm going out on auditions. My agent's got me out. We're still pushing on this stuff, and we're also trying to create our own thing as well. So it's fun. But I'm excited about the Hercules and working with Barry Levine. So. I'll let you guys know what happens. I'll let you know what happens.
Have you done a lot of acting lessons and kind of voice coaching and stuff like that?
Never stopped.
Fantastic.
Never stopped. Yeah. Good. It's one of the early things that Arnold told me, and I've known Arnold since '90. Yeah. And he says, always be in class, always be learning, and always be ready.
Yeah.
And that's the motto, man. I'm always ready to go. I'm always studying. I'm always staying in class, practicing and working the craft.
Yeah, I definitely see you as He-Man though. AJ's not feeling that.
A guy like you with always positive, superhuman strength, so forth. Have you ever in your life been depressed or lost that for a while? Have you ever been down in life? And if so, how did you get out of it?
Have I ever lost the strength? No, that's the one thing. But no, I'm going to get there. Yeah. The one thing I haven't done, and I've dropped, when I lost my father, I did the manly thing or the society thing. I'm a tough guy. That's life. My old man passed. All right, move on. Don't cry about it. That's life, which was the worst thing I could have ever done. But I was a young, guy. And then I lost my mom 10 years later, and I chose to live in the pain, to live in it, to understand it, not to rush it. Yeah. And it was the greatest lesson I ever learned in my entire life. I dropped. The only thing I did is I kept going to the gym at 4 a.m. to train. Yeah. And then I would go home, eat my nutrition and stuff, but I wouldn't do much else. And I was that way for 3 months.
So you faced it voluntarily, and you kept in your strict routine to stop yourself from really falling off. So
I think the routine was the only thing that kept me sane, and the nutrition that was the only thing that kept me going. Hey, listen, we're gonna make it through. Let's live in this. Let's cry about it. And I actually ended a relationship also at that time that I was dating a girl for a long period of time, and I ended that, and I purposely put myself alone to find out for myself, what does this mean? What is life? What is important here? I just lost my only other parent, and now I just got my brothers and sisters. I got me. What am I going to do with my life? And here's the funny thing, and I speak about this too because everybody goes through a depression mode. Everybody hits rock bottom. Everybody does that. And it was the greatest thing for me. And I know all the guys out there going, I know I'm macho. I'm not going to cry about this. I'm not going to feel sorry for myself. I think it was the greatest thing for me to do because I found a new passion after that.
Okay. Which was?
I was chasing, we all, as young kids, you chase trophies. I wanted the universe a certain amount of times. I wanted to win. I wanted to win powerlifting, bodybuilding, and martial arts. That was the goal. And then I realized that it was the last name that I wanted to make epic. The last name is going to be bigger than the universe. It's going to be bigger than the other things. And it was the last name that my parents gave me, my name. And I'm going to represent my family and my name and be better than I ever was. And I actually, through the years, have gotten better shape or stronger than I ever did getting ready for the Universe or the America or any of those shows. I got in better shape because it gave me more motivation. Because that voice in your head, the voice in your head when you're lifting, I'm going to compete, I'm going to beat these guys. And the voice in my head was saying, the world's going to know this. The world's going to see this name, and they're going to look at me, and they're going to look at my parents and go, you raised a good kid. He followed your principles. He tried to do right. He tried to stay positive. He tried to influence others. And that changed everything.
Wow. By the way, did you ever kick somebody's ass that we would know about since you're a fighter? Is there somebody who stepped out of line and you had to give them the Bruce Lee?
I got in a lot of trouble as a youngster doing that stuff. But no, I can't think of anybody, or they sure weren't that important to me that I ever had to tussle with after the fact. I have done this though, which I love, is that from TV shows. This is like the greatest compliments is for me is when you can move somebody else and they look at you completely different. You know, so like TV shows, like we did a show, Gladiators was tough. We had some good athletes, but a TV show I did called Battle Dome. And we wrecked people on Battle Dome. We snapped legs, we snapped arms, we crushed people.
Sorry, what style of a show was this? Was it similar to the Gladiator thing where it's physical?
Yeah, it was competition against contestants, but most of the contestants were ex-football players, ex-MMA fighters, guys that were just a good 220-pound athletes, college football players, and they got to choose kind of their gladiators. And then so you got me that looks very.
They chose you a lot, I would imagine.
They chose me over the other guys. You know, these other guys had strapped up to here, and they looked mean. And they go, oh, we want this guy. We'll kick his ass. That's no problem. And then I would just embarrass them on TV. And they would come up after and go, wow, that was the wrong. That was, I see now your alter ego is how you look is not who you are physically, emotionally, mentally. So that was the coolest thing I learned through those 20 years of doing Gladiators and Battle Dome and all that stuff. That was the greatest thing.
Last question, and think about this because this is. Oh, you have another
I would like to answer a question. It's been
bugging
me. Have you ever trained with Ronnie Coleman?
I've trained with everybody.
Wow.
That comes my question.
I competed in powerlifting in ADFPA in at 242. Ronnie and me back in the day, and I'd beat him back in those days.
You beat Ronnie.
So Michael, you beat Ronnie Coleman.
So I did an interview with him.
I don't like Mike anymore. Ronnie's my friend. Sorry.
If you ever, you know what's the best story? The best story comes if you ever interview C.T. Fletcher. Interview CT because he has the freaking best story in the world. I didn't know him at the time, but I was coming to, and he's talked about this and I laughed my ass because it's so CT and it's great. He's such a good person. We were getting ready for a powerlifting meet, and everybody was going up to him and going, "Hey, you know, Mike O'Hearn's coming. This Joe Weider Wonder Boy's coming and stuff." And CT in CT's voice going, blank, I don't care who this is. I don't care that pretty boy. I'll kick his ass. And then I came into the meet, won the meet, and won the overall lifter. And he goes, "Oh, I hate this guy."
But that's where I came back, Mike. Before we go, I want to ask, because this is very important, because you've seen them all. So this is very valuable. Who's the strongest bodybuilder you ever seen in life? And who's the best physique you have ever seen in your life of all time?
Well, I trained with Dorian Yates back in the day. I trained with for everybody. There's guys you wouldn't think were strong that were strong. An old school guy, Francis Benefato. Beautiful body. Strong.
Oh, he's strong, was he? Was he very strong? I thought he'd be like a high volume trainer or.
Wow. He's 170 pounds?
No, it's heavier.
Yeah, maybe 185 to the most, but strong guy. But Ronnie was the strongest.
Well, you beat him,
Ronnie was the strongest and the greatest I've ever seen on stage. both those guys. But the greatest I've ever seen. But I think for me, if it came down to picking, so the total athlete would have been Ronnie. But Chris Cormier, Flex Wheeler were extremely strong back in the day.
Very. Yeah.
And Flex is my ultimate superhero physique.
Flex Wheeler.
Yeah, Flex Wheeler.
Hope he's doing better now.
Yeah.
So yeah, he was. But we have a great business we live in, guys. Don't you think?
Yeah. I love it. I love it.
So what's your?
I would like to ask one question. Yeah. What's been your either your favorite moment or your biggest achievement? The first thing that pops into your head. Go.
My dad and my mom, and this is about 2 weeks, 3 weeks before I lost my dad.
Okay.
Me auditioning and filming Battle Dome, and him being able to see me be the star of the show and just kick the shit out of 3 guys, and him come up to me and say to me, because besides them being athletes, they were both very well-educated people.
Yeah.
That I grew up with dyslexia and a reading problem, so I ran away from that area of my life. And him being a teacher comes up to me that day, and he goes, "I'm glad you didn't listen to me and have a backup plan. I'm glad you did what you did. It was in your heart, and you never walked away." Believe it or not, that meant more to me, and will stay with. And I got tingles now. That will stay with me forever, knowing that he got to see that moment of true success and dreams, because life is about dreams, man. I don't care how old or young you are, man. Go live the dream. Don't work for the man. Don't do other stuff,
don't work for the man. That's important too. Yeah, I agree.
Just live your dreams. We're all so creative, and we can come up with our own thing, And one thing, because I want to say this to you guys and all your listeners right now. I grew up in an era where I had to have the magazines. I had to be on the cover of the magazines for the world to know me.
Yeah.
And I know that today a lot of the old school guys of my eras, the 80s and 90s and maybe even 2000, honestly, are a little bitter because today the kid from Iowa could be 2 million followers on Instagram and be famous. And I'm okay with that because of the fact that it's about who you are and your personality and what you really achieve. I'm glad that you want a show. I'm glad that you have a title, but a title doesn't make you better than anybody else. It's if the world connects to you and you have something to say, go out and say it. And so all you social media kids worldwide, you don't need to be in America to make this dream come true. You could be anywhere. You could be in the Ukraine like the kid I was training with today. You guys could create something incredible. You can come from Norway and create something incredible. Use social media for good. Talk about what you believe in. Try to stay positive. Don't worry about the haters. Haters are average people that just they're mad at themselves. Trust me, most people don't like themselves, so don't expect them to like you. So don't worry about the haters. They're actually some of your biggest fans.
Well,
AJ.
Yeah, it's good.
I'd like to say.
Yeah.
You were right.
Yeah, I told you, huh?
Yeah. He honestly, Mike, he's been ever since I've known AJ the last couple of years. He's always gone on about you. He's really, he's really sort of spoke highly of you and spoke about like your mindset and the sort of the balance you have in your life and the positive kind of attitude and the message, the positive message that you give out. So I'm really glad we got you on, Mike. I really am.
It's about being also using your bodybuilding thing, but to be larger in life, It's truly something that will live forever,
Yeah.
And we're in 2020.
Yeah.
And Mike is still as popular today as it was in 2000.
Still popping.
It's fantastic to see, Mike. Where can people reach you?
People can reach me anywhere on Mike O'Hearn. Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, website. Easy to access. I touch base with people and tag me in dog photos if you really want to talk to me. Take me in dog photos on Instagram. Don't take me in stop taking me with your underwear on posing shots.
Mike, as man to man, I'd like to give you some advice.
Okay.
Be very careful of darkly lit stages.
What?
sir. Well played. How
Doc, yeah. Did you see the one where you were like falling through the universe and the one that was absolutely gold? They did that pretty quick. That was funny. Were you okay from that fall or?
So I you know what? So much happened from. First of all, holy sheesh, that went viral.
Yeah.
It went viral,
Yeah.
I got videos from the newspaper in Australia, a TV show in Germany. I mean, like, really?
Good publicity.
I actually have the video that follows that.
Okay.
That shows me fall off, and then I pop right back up, and then I go into the posing routine.
Oh, you just got back up. You were fine. You didn't hurt yourself, or?
I will let you guys post the video that nobody's ever seen.
Please.
The falling up.
Send it to me, bro. Send it to me.
We're gonna send it to you guys so you guys can post it when you want.
Exclusive Global Muscle Season 2.
Please do.
So if people wonder, did I get hurt? What happened? Did I do the guest posing?
Yeah.
You guys will see it first.
Thank you.
Wow, Mike, that's a real little bonus there for our first episode back on Season 2.
Love it, guys.
I want to thank you so much for coming on, and really appreciate you taking the time, and it's been a real honor.
And thanks you for making our first episode of Season 2 special, Mike.
Yeah, very special. Yeah.
Oh, thank you guys, man. Thanks for doing this, and appreciate again. You guys are doing a great job, and that's it, man.
Yeah.
Be a superhero.
Bye-bye.
I like that.
Bye, guys.
Thank you, Mike. Bye-bye.
Bye.